Greetings, snake lovers. I am bringing you the long-awaited Python regius video, also known as the ball python or the royal python. This is a normal ball python. You can see it's black or dark brown with this gold splotches on the side and on the back, and they're incredibly lovely. The fun thing about ball pythons is that there are over 3,500 color morphs. This is a lovely morph known as a pastel. This is a co-dominant gene, and you can see how bright and lovely this fantastic animal is. So the ball python is the smallest of all the African pythons. Of course, it is non-venomous. It is a constrictor. These are often recommended as the best beginner snake because of their docile nature. But the reality is, sometimes they can be slightly problematic feeders. This is another young beauty called a pinstripe. This is a snake that does estivate in the wintertime. It's sort of similar to hibernation in mammals. Even though this is a small species, this is a young one. The males usually grow to be at max about 5 feet, with the females being about 6 feet. And although they can be somewhat heavy-bodied, they're definitely not one of the largest pythons out there. They stay very manageable in size. This is a morph known as a lemon blast. It has some beautiful detailing on it. Now, one difference between estivation and hibernation is during the dry season, they retreat into termite mounds and places like that of higher humidity to protect them from the dry season. This is a morph called a killer bee. It's so bright and beautiful. This is one of my favorites. She is one of my younger snakes, you can see. If you get a wild-caught ball python, they can be very finicky eaters. They are difficult to feed in captivity. They can also be infested with parasites and sometimes just be unhealthy due to stress. If shopping for a ball python, one thing you should probably look into is whether it's wild-caught or captive bred and born. It's a biggie. This is another morph called a yellow belly. Now, you might not think that this one is very different from the normal ball python. Somebody noticed a small anomaly in their scalation on their belly, and I personally wasn't all too impressed by the yellow belly. I mean, they're beautiful just like any snake, but the impressive thing about this co-dominant mutation is if you breed yellow belly to yellow belly, some of the offspring has the possibility of being a white blue-eyed snake. So that would be the super form of a yellow belly, and isn't that just cool? This is another morph called a Mojave. Now, you'll notice that this animal has very clean markings. In addition to that, instead of being very dark brown or almost black, it's a very kind of light chocolate brown with a creamy marking. This is another beautiful one, but even more impressive is when you breed Mojave to Mojave, you get a super Mojave, which is another white snake, but this time with black eyes. So this little beauty here is my super Mojave, and you can see she's got a slight creamy gray on her head, but other than that, she is a white snake with black eyes. She doesn't have any pattern. She has a slight cream tinge to her backside, but I think, whew, she's absolutely fantastic. When ball pythons reproduce, usually you would want your female to be up to about 1,200 grams, and they typically lay between, on average, 4 to 6 eggs. Oh my goodness, you're a feisty girl. And your eggs hatch out in about 55 to 60 days. This is my favorite morph of all times, even though there are some very, very amazing morphs out there, and they even have the Panda Pied now. This is what is called a Piebald, and I just think it's absolutely spectacular. To get this color mutation, you have to have 2 parents carrying the gene because it is a recessive trait, and I just think it's absolutely amazing. If you plan to house one of these animals, it is a long-term commitment, seeing that they can live past 30 years. If you want to have a ball python, you need to have an aquarium or a snake rack, some type of proper enclosure. You need to have a heat pad or heating coils, any way to keep them warm other than a hot rock. You need a thermostat to check the temperature. They need to be between about 70 to 90 degrees with a warm area and a cooler area. You need a way to keep humidity between 50 and 60%. They need a hide and a water bowl that's large enough for them to lay in. These snakes do not bite very often, but an important thing to know if they do bite you is it's typically bite and release, so don't pull away as you could injure your animal. And similar to most other snakes, you don't want to handle them or move them around just after they have eaten. So this was Python regius, ball python, or the royal python, beautiful African python constrictor. One of my favorites. They're beautiful, they're amazing, and I'll probably always keep ball pythons. I hope you guys learned a little from this video, and I'll see you again soon.